A sex room is a room dedicated to intimacy.
If you want to master anything, you have to have a place to practice.
And you can just have a great time exploring and pushing your own boundaries.
What are some of the sex rooms you've designed?
It could be a fantasy room. It could be just like a sacred room. It could be, a BDSM dedicated dungeon.
I had a roommate in college who had a ratchet dungeon.
Do you have a fetish, for instance?
I love, I'm Layla Martin. I'm your host of This Tantric Life. This podcast is for you to learn about and be able to use the incredibly powerful system of Tantra in your life. I have been teaching and studying classical and neo-Tantra for over 20 years. And when you apply that to sex, love, and relationships, as I love to do, you end up having conscious relationships, the deepest, most epic and magical sex, and the kind of intimacy that you get to be grateful for on your deathbed. And I want you to have your own magical journey in your own way that takes you from wherever you are now to the most outrageous and true and beautiful expression of sex, love, and relationships that is available to you. I'm here to let you know that if you want to stay connected to my teachings and if you want to support this podcast, the best way to do it is to sign up for my email list. Email list sounds old school, and yet it is where I share my most intimate teachings, the path, process, heartbreak, and triumph of my life, and so much of the content that I make for you on a regular basis. So the way you get on the email list is by heading over to laylamartin.com, put your email address into any of the boxes. You can also sign up for cool practices like sex magic or energy orgasm, totally free. Heading on over to laylamartin.com, signing up with your email address. This supports the podcast. It supports this entire work and is the number one way for you to receive the highest teachings of this path. Welcome to This Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. I'm so excited to be sitting here today with Melanie Rose. So she is the creator of How to Build a Sex Room. And when I looked her up, the first description I found was, it's like as if Mary Poppins was going to create a sex room for you or even a sex dungeon. And then what I loved even more, since she's been here and I've met her, is that she loves swearing. So it's like Mary Poppins, who likes to say fuck and shit, and who will also build you your own private sex room. So we're going to have an exceptional conversation about what a sex room is, how you can create your own, the value of it, what it can do for your sex life. And she also has this exceptional BDSM line that she has created. And it's, I asked her I wanted to ask her, and then she told me without me asking what her incredible jewelry is that she's wearing. And it is BDSM jewelry that you can wear all around, basically everywhere. And so I'm really excited to dive in with this fascinating woman so that we can all have sex rooms and be Mary Poppins who swear and practice BDSM. All right. Welcome, Melanie.
Hi, Layla. How are you?
I'm actually really amazing. Your energy since you swept in, it really was Mary Poppins-esque. Like you came in and it was like, but it's like as if Mary Poppins would either have you on a leash or hold you on a leash, depending on your desire.
I think I'd be holding Mary Poppins on a leash, darling.
Yes!
I think absolutely yes. I think I'm a little bit more dominant than people like to imagine,
Let's get Mary Poppins in the house and dom her. So you have this amazing Netflix series. Like my team was blown away by it. I was so into it when I watched it. It's so special. And you show people how to build sex rooms. So can you just start off and let us know what is a sex room?
A sex room really, if you take away all the nuts or go to the nuts and bolts of it, is a room dedicated to intimacy.
Yeah.
So it's a place where you can feel safe. It's a place where it's consensual and you can just have a great time exploring and pushing your own boundaries.
Yes. And this is so essential because one of the things that I teach and work with my audience on is sex is something that you have to work on, even though it's natural, just like being healthy. Just like meditating, right? And you would never just spontaneously like work out. You need a gym or a ritual space, like a running trail, somewhere that you can go to do the thing you need to do, right? People very rarely spontaneously meditate until they've been doing it for like a decade. They need a space where they sit and meditate or a yoga mat, right? So a space really invites you to do something to the best of your ability and to even make it a practice. So I love this concept. I've had a sex room myself, but never to the level that you take it to. So can you describe for us a little bit like What are some of the sex rooms you've designed and what level can they go to?
They can go to various levels. With my business, I actually sign NDAs. All my clients are on NDAs because I have to respect their privacy.
Yeah.
They're in high profile positions.
Yeah.
So, and sadly enough, people are too quick to judge. So it would, if I told you who my clients were, they would be looked at in a different light, which is that judgmental thing that we all try and not want to do. But particularly for the show, I had such an interesting, diverse clients to work with. They could be your next door neighbor, most of them. Shanika and Matt wanted their spice up their bedroom because they couldn't, they felt that with their children, their sex life was lacking. Interestingly enough, they'd never actually been to an adult toy store either. And so it was a great pleasure when I took them in and said, here, have a look at this dildo. Have a look at this vibrator, darling. Put it in your hands.
So what kind of questions do you ask to figure out what sort of sex room you should help a couple build?
Well, really, I want to ask about what their intimacies are like, what they are like between the sheets. What are their boundaries do they want to push? And what type of ambience, what do they want to do with the room? What do they want to have created? It could be a fantasy room. It could be just like a sacred room. It could be, a BDSM dedicated dungeon. Normally, if I'm doing dungeons, I like to elevate them, which is what I also did for the polyamorous family in the show.
What does it mean to elevate a dungeon?
Means that it doesn't look disgusting and dirty.
Oh, it's like a bougie dungeon.
It's like a bougie dungeon. It's luxury. It's that added luxury, which actually, in a sense, can actually play with the psyche of being more erotic.
I had a roommate in college who had a ratchet dungeon.
A ratchet dungeon?
Yeah, back then I was a little scared. It was like a cross over her bed, but it looked like it might it didn't look like we spent a lot of money on that cross.
Oh my goodness! There are companies. I deal with a lot of private companies that do actually. I have my stuff custom made for my clients.
Yeah.
But there are places out there that do some really beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And really, it's a matter of what you want to go in your room.
Yeah.
And not everybody can afford a sex room.
Totally.
But everybody has a bedroom.
Yeah. Everyone deserves a sex room, though. We'll put it that way. Used to be, what's amazing, right? Like me and Emily toured Europe this summer. We went to the High Priestess sacred sites and we spent time in Pan's Cave, which was supposedly the birthplace of Pan. Actually, having been there, I believe it was the birthplace of Pan, or at least Pan energy. And we went to a primordial cave in Crete that had fertility rites and rituals, like archaeological artifacts from 15,000 years ago, like huge amounts of time of using these caves. And so when we went in there, so interesting that in our culture, we kind of think of caves as spooky, as we took a lot of sexual expression and witchy expression and magical expression and made it kind of scary when actually it's like the most normal, beautiful thing. And so as we were spending time in this primordial cave, it was such a deep cave and it was so dark. And I was like, wow, these caves are where you would have gone to make love. They're where you would have gone to birth babies because you would have been so exposed out in the rest of nature, right? You wouldn't have done it in a field. You wouldn't have even wanted to do it in a forest. Maybe another tribe would come, an animal, but in a cave you were protected.
Yes.
So these caves are like the original sex room, maybe as humans, we've always craved this place to go to make love.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if you know that Catherine the Great actually had, it is rumored, that she actually had a dedicated part of her palace with sex furniture.
Yes.
Which is absolutely fascinating. And that was all that was what that space was for.
Yeah.
Full of beautiful, erotic furniture.
Oh, yes. Hey, I'm taking a moment to share with you about one of my most powerful programs. This is the VITA coaching certification. It is a year-long professional training in how to have a tantric approach to sex, love, and relationships. It will not only transform your experience of sex, love, and relationships to the highest possibility for you in this lifetime, but will empower you with the keys, tools, and technology to be able to offer the same for your clients, because you will have such potent results that you can get for clients in an area that they most deeply desire. You will also be able to charge premium pricing for your coaching packages. We not only train you in VITA coaching on the art of coaching, but also extensive business training so that you can sell your coaching packages as well. If doing one of the most powerful, most transformative, most effective trainings around sex, love, and relationships is something that you are called for to professionalize your healing gifts and skills, head on over to laylamartin.com, sign up in the VITA coaching area to find out more about the program, or get on my email list anywhere on laylamartin.com, and we will let you know about the program, when it opens, how you can apply, and when you can join.
I know.
All right. So I'd love if you could give us some ideas of what you might do. Like if, I'm listening and I'm like, ooh, I want to like either create my own sex room or even just add a few pieces that I could put out in my bedroom, right? If I don't have my own dedicated room, I could add some things that sort of switch it from like, I'm just going to pass out here to, ooh, let's have the best time ever. So you mentioned, more ritualistic couple. Like if I'm like a tantric practitioner, I want things to feel more sensual, more sacred. What kind of elements do you bring into a room like that?
Okay, so for me, it's all about touch and feel.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the sensuality behind what makes is another detail which makes a sex room really wonderful. Again, if it's in a bedroom, then I would go for something like the tantric chair, because when you look at it, you don't think it's an item that you don't look at it as a sexual piece of furniture. It's absolutely beautiful. And then I would change up your bed linens and create something that's really soft. And I've always said, look, if you've never gone to bed naked, go to bed naked. That's really, really erotic on the skin. Again, because it's all sensory. So get some really good bed linens and, Egyptian cottons and things like that, and some great throw pillows and some throws, to give it that luxury. And if you want to go to that little bit of a kinky side, get some under bed restraints.
Yes.
And get a few sort of like wrist cuffs and go from there. Blindfold. Let your partner, blindfold you and then give you a sensory guide over your body. You have no idea what's going to happen. It's absolutely fantastic.
I actually have two great stories to add on to this, and then we'll talk about a BDSM room. But the first is I would own if I had a sex chair, right? Like I would like totally own it.
Yeah.
But I actually had one of those medical wedges that you sit on when you've like had surgery. So like everything like drains out, and you don't die in the night. So I had one of those, and I was dating this guy who I really liked at the time, but it wasn't going to be a match because he was really freaked out that I was just like going to be like full polyamory. And as many times as I told him, like, I'm not that polyamorous. Like I'm monogamish. I want to play, but like, I don't need full polyamory to be happy. He was like, he had this paranoia that I was like hiding my like deep sexual whatever. So I take him to my room. It's like first time he sees my room, and he sees the like medical chair, and he was like, it's a sex chair.
Oh, for God's sakes, what is wrong with people? Oh my God. Look. Yeah.
And if it was, I would have been like, yeah, man, it's a sex chair. I was like, it's a medical wedge, man.
The funny thing is, when I first started doing the show, when we first met, it was right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we all stood in a circle and we stepped forward and announced who we all were. And I was like, I'm Melanie Rose. I'm the host and designer. And I said, I just want you to be comfortable that I will be using words like cock, vibrator, dildo, butt plug. We'll talk about penetration, pussy, cunt, whatever. But you just said, make sure that you feel comfortable with those words. And there was one PA on the show, and she was lovely. And she actually admitted to me, she said, when I saw your list of what we needed to purchase or that was there, she said, I felt this glow across my cheeks of like, I'm blushing. By the end of the show, she was like, okay, we need a dildo over here. I need a vibrator there. Could you just pass me that cock ring? And she felt really, really comfortable. And that's really what I want people to do, is feel comfortable with adult toys.
Yes. I love that. And I love at the beginning of this interview, you were like, I'm going to swear. Is that okay? And I was like, I assume children aren't listening to the podcast. And you were like, I actually don't care. Fuck, shit. And then I whispered, I didn't actually whisper. I just said cunt into the microphone. You were like, it's my favorite word. And I was like, you're my people. Yeah.
It was very funny. And also what people don't realize during the show is I never met the the clients beforehand.
Yeah.
So they're meeting me for the first time on camera. And it was so funny. I was outside the door. I think it was Matthew in Orlando. And I was outside the door and waiting for the cameras to roll. And I could hear them going, you know what, well, maybe she might be a dominatrix. You know, maybe she's coming all in, you know, latex or, you know, whatever. And somebody said, well, maybe she might be English. I don't know. And of course, when I went in, I was like, darling. And she was like, I said, fucking relax, you know, it's okay. And they were like, and she swears. And it just put people at ease because, you know, it just, for some reason, it just people go, oh, okay, see, she's normal.
Totally. And, you know, something that I love that you embody is, number one, I think people have this idea of what a sex person looks like, right? Like someone who's sex positive, someone who's willing to talk about sex, someone who's willing to own their sexuality and design a BDSM jewelry line, right?
Right.
And number one, you could be Mary Poppins and like fully into sex, right? I think it's time we break down in culture that being a sexually empowered being looks a certain way. And you have what I like to tell people a lot, which is, you know, when I work with women on owning their inner sexuality, they have this idea of like, well, before I know it, I'm going to be dancing in cages with platform shoes and a mini skirt. And it's like, maybe if that's your truth, but mostly you just have this glitter in your eyes and you have that same glitter where it's just like, yeah, she's got magic in her.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Look, I wish, and I'm really proud of the show. I think what it did is it's actually taught people to sit down and have a conversation with their partner. Yeah. And I always say, look, if you want to talk about sex, go watch my show again, take a notepad and a piece of paper with you, have a glass of wine with your partner and make some notes and talk about it afterwards. And just, you know, it's okay. As long as it's consensual, it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah. And I love getting back to when you mentioned having the bondage gear maybe in the tantric bed, right? One of the things that I've noticed is that if you practice tantra long enough, if you practice tantric sex long enough, it often, this could be a sample size of the people that I know, it eventually turns BDSM-y. It's like a yin and a yang. Like you do the sacred long enough and you start to find the power play and the dominance and the submission and the desire to consciously play out the extremes of the human experience through eros. But I found the opposite is true. A lot of BDSM people start out very BDSM-y and they eventually find their way to tantra, the sacred spaces that they touch in this play. And so it's amazing that even with you were like, yeah, you could have the restraints. Like it represents to me kind of like some of the tantric practices of like you start out tantric and then you get a little BDSM-y. So
yeah. But you know what is really a shame and is an acronym BDSM. You mention the word BDSM and people go run to the fucking hills.
Yeah.
It's like we all practice it and we have all practiced it in some form in our relationships. Even if it's just like a little grab at the hair, little tug of the hair, or a little tap on the bottom, that falls under that BDSM acronym. So it's, you know, it's not something to be frightened about. It's something to be explored and I think in some ways to be embraced.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting, you know, that we think, oh, you know, to be into BDSM, what you want has to fall into the kink category. And I was in this sort of sexual workshop and they asked you to step to the center if you identified in a certain way. And they said kinky and a bunch of people went into the center and I didn't go. The instructor looked at me and he was like, Layla. And I was like, what? And he was like, don't you love doing sex rituals in graveyards? And I was like, that's not kink, that's normal.
Well, that's normal for you. But
yes.
do you have kink? Do you feel that you are kinky? Do you have a fetish, for instance?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I don't have a traditional fetish in the sense like I need it to be like this in order to get turned on or in order to have an orgasm. But what is interesting for me is I think that I normalized and became so shameless about what other people would call kinky that I was like, I'm not kinky. And I love like energy play in spaces that evoke death. because it reminds me as a
how
tantrika of the limited nature of our experience, right?
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, of course I'd hang out in a graveyard. That's what the tantrikas do. That's what the witches do. Why do we do it? We do it to be reminded of death, right? And so that to me is erotic. I think a lot of people would call that kinky, whereas I'm like, oh yeah, that's just spiritual, you know? And so it depends on what we do with it in our head.
I think, and I say this to everybody, you know, anybody that wants a sex room or wants to improve or embody or empower themselves during sex or in a particular place that's just to do with intimacy. If that's what you want, just do it. Don't feel that you're going to be judged by it. You know, what is my cup of tea is not necessarily going to be your cup of tea. Does that make sense? So I think people should just embrace what they love.
Yes.
And just, you know, go forth and get a sex room. Go and, you know, turn your bedroom into that intimate space that maybe you could walk through and you could actually role play.
Oh! So what would you recommend for a BDSM room, right? Often it's called a dungeon, but whatever someone wants to call
it. Most people know BDSM as dungeons. But they don't have to be dungeons. They can be others. It's optional. They can be another space entirely. You know, it depends what play you're into. What if I go back to the polyamorous family that I did for the show, they were each and every one of them had their own particular, I suppose, kink. You know, rope play was one. One loved sort of like thick rope, feeling it rasp against the skin. You know, there was bukkake was involved. So all those things that are coming at me from different places from talking to the individuals, you know, like one of them wanted to be a voyeur.
Yeah. So and let's not miss an opportunity for a definition. Bukkake is generally when someone lies in the center and people ejaculate on top of them.
Absolutely. Yes. So the room that they had previously had carpet on. I was like, for fuck's sakes, I don't think, I mean, really, have you just put up
That's one heavy task rabbit ask. You're like, I was like, no. Come clean up the carpet.
Yes.
Minimum 2 hours done.
Have we got a Stanley? Anybody got a Stanley steamer handy? You know, it was one of those things of like, okay, we need to put a drain in here. Well, a lot of people say, oh yeah, put a drain in. It's not quite that easy because you have to, a drain, the flooring has to be angled towards the drain so that if you are hosing anything down or washing anything down, it gravitates towards the drain. But we had to do it very carefully because I wanted to bring in some bondage furniture, and the problem is I didn't want it sort of like leaning at an angle because that wouldn't fucking right, would it? I mean, that would just be, you'd have stuff rolling around the place.
Yeah.
So it was quite interesting talking to the contractors and getting that worked out and, you know, getting it all everything pushed to the center, you know.
The experience that I'm having right now is pride for myself, and that I could imagine a time in my life in which we discussed bukkake occurring to the degree that one would need to angle it into a drain, and that producing a negative experience in me. But I have nothing but awe and wonder right now. I'm like, God bless them. Like whoever these people are, like God bless them for owning their desires so deeply.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, it's their life. It's what, if that's what, you know, sorry, God, it's like word salad. If that's what makes them happy and everything is consensual, why not? Yeah. I'm not here to judge. I set up the rooms and then I leave them. What goes on behind those closed doors is not my business. Do I want to get involved in that? No, I don't want to be involved. I just set up the rooms in readiness for my clients, but also to help push their own boundaries.
And the simplicity of that, it sounds so simple, and yet it's very hard for us as a culture to get to that level of non-judgment.
I know, but I think we're turning just a little bit. I think we are, you know, if you look at programs that are coming out now, television programs, you know, there was Sex Life on Netflix. I think there was the erotical novels 365, which really pushed the boundaries of sex and what was allowed to be seen on television. And then, you know, you've got Lady Chatterley's Lover, beautiful book, I think, written in 1928, you know, was banned because of its salacious material. And yet Netflix just made a movie out of it. And, you know, it's there for people to see.
We are turning a corner. I really feel that. When I used to say the word pussy, people would freak. It would be like Wednesday because we'd have a whole bunch of emails. It's when we used to send out my content, my YouTube video, and I'd say pussy. People would be like, oh! right?
Oh no, I do that for shock. The funniest thing is actually, let me take a step back. Let's talk about pussy for a second because No. This is a funny way. So when you get a boil or you get there's an element of pus. So it's pussy. How do you think you spell pussy? It's spelled pussy.
Yeah, totally.
But some people can't write that, so they have to change it into a different name. Don't ask me. The other thing I found that was very strange was obviously I get recognized quite a lot on the street, but people can't say the words. Are you that lady on How to Build a Sex Room? They go, are you that lady from that Netflix show? And I go, oh, you mean How to Build a Sex Room? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yes, I am.
Wow.
It's not weird. It's fine. Embrace the word sex. It's okay.
It always blows my mind that not only is sex one of the most beautiful experiences that we can have, but even if you're ultra conservative, you would agree that it is the bedrock and foundation of all healthy, happy families. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a supportive, loving partnership where there is still sexual desire and sexual charges necessary for the good and health of our families, right? And yet still we carry so much shame. And on MRI scans, they can't tell the difference between a brain in deep states of meditation and a brain in deep states of orgasm. So we're literally going with the person that we love more than anything in the world into co-meditative states of union. It's so beautiful. And whether we get there through BDSM or Tantra or extensive bukkake, like who cares? You're getting somewhere so beautiful and so holy. And yet we still have a hard time saying the word on the street, you know?
We do. And I think the other thing to touch on is also, our bodies aren't just for procreation. In my generation, my parents' generation, it was, okay, here, read a book called Jack and Jill. Go to my biology teacher and we talked about sex. And it was like, okay, do a cross-section drawing of a penis entering a vagina or do a cross-section of a penis, which was hysterical because a lot of people couldn't draw. And so proportionately, things were all over the place. But you were never taught that sex is also for pleasure.
Yeah.
And if you think about how many erogenous zones on the body there are, and just elements of nerve endings that we can use with the use of adult toys that can enhance that experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
And I love also what you do. It invites a different level of play. So I've seen that in play experiences that I've hosted with my friends. So years and years ago, actually, I was like super against hosting any play experiences, but I did the surrender experiment and it just felt like it was what the universe wanted.
Right.
And so in our community, right, very consensually, we decided to explore. And I was like, I want to build spaces that invite play, right? And yes, this is kinky. So we built like a high school room. We got like kids' desks and like a chalkboard and stuff like that. So we could play out like teacher-student fantasies, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like literally I had like Mr. Bernardo, my calculus teacher when I was like 17 that I always thought was hot. He was like spanking me over the desk, and we were like being kids, like doing like graffiti all over the chalkboards and stuff like that. And I say kids, we were teenagers, late teenagers, and we were playing in a way that I think was very healthy, right? In being, in an age where we were sexually active as teenagers and playing out our fantasies at that time, returning to it. And in doing that, it was so liberating. It was so freeing. I healed things from that period of my life when I was in sexual development. And then I also really reflected, like, we never would have gone there without that space.
Right. I had just while you were talking about that, playing school children, had an area where it was like a school classroom and stuff like that. So when you were growing up, this interests me because we're a slightly different generation here. Did you ever play doctors and nurses?
I did not, but I know kids who did.
I played doctors and nurses when I was growing up. And I think that's also part of your sexual exploration when you are growing up, as your body is becoming more matured or it's coming into adolescence and stuff like that. I find all of this very curious. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I had one of my best friends that I met when we first met each other. We had a medical glove and we were going to do some exploration. He was like, do you want this to be a sensual or a medical experience? And I was like, why not both?
Oh, for fuck's sakes, why not? Because then you can do the comparison. You can then say, okay, this is what it felt like for me on this level. And then on this level, it felt something different. Why not?
Yeah.
But that's what the whole essence of having an intimate space, a dedicated playroom. Kids have playrooms. Why can't adults have fucking playrooms?
Exactly.
To explore those types of things. I try as much as I can, because it frightens people so much to not necessarily use the words BDSM, because they just shut down. Otherwise, they shut down.
Yeah.
So I like to call my spaces, aside from sex rooms, sacred spaces, sacred rooms.
Yes.
Because it is in essence a sacred space where you're going to push your boundaries, or you are consensual, or it's a safe place to play and explore.
And I think one of the things, I do agree that BDSM is an unfortunate word in that it's bondage and dominance and submission and masochism, or sadism maybe. Masochism.
Absolutely.
And it's so much more than that. So when I work with couples, right, it's really about designing a sexual experience that fulfills a particular fantasy or takes you to your edge. So like, I'm not someone who like loves pain, right? Like if you know how to give me a good smack in the right place when I really want it, like I can get into that. But I'm not someone who likes being caned or whatever, but I have friends who love it, right?
Yeah.
And I can get really into kink when I own it, of like, I want my partner to tie me up and take me to a pleasure 9 out of 10.
Right.
And then hold off and tease me. And then take me to a pleasure 9 out of 10 and then hold off and tease me. And literally almost force me to feel more pleasure than I've ever felt in my entire life, right? That actually can be an element of BDSM play, because there's a power dynamic, because it's going to an
Very
edge,
much so.
but it's doing it in the way that I desire. And so I think also if people can open their minds a little bit and think, oh, if I could design an experience to bring me somewhere that I wouldn't go myself sexually, what could that look like? And I think that's part of a sex room as well, right?
Oh, very, very much so. I think it's also dependent on the partner you're with. Yeah. I think the best sex and that you can have in a sex room, doesn't necessarily have to be a sex room, is when you are open enough yourself. Yeah. If you can expose your vulnerable side, I think that's really important. It was interesting during the show. I was doing Hannah and Wesley, and Wesley is a sheriff, which was quite fun, and he was such a lovely person. But he was brought up on abstinence tapes. If you masturbate, your cock's going to fall off. I mean, seriously? Well, so when he was with Hannah, his wife opened his world up for him a little bit more. But then when I took them to a dungeon, I saw them actually shut down and were quite shocked about going there. And it wasn't to shock them in a way, it was actually to help push their boundaries. Yes. So that they could actually say, okay, this is for me and this is not for me. Yeah. So when something wasn't right, we moved on to something else. And I think that's really what, a room is about, is trying different things with your partner and seeing what either of you like, or what you can both do together and achieve. It's like writing the first chapter of a novel, It's you're creating your new chapters together, and a different journey. Yes. A new journey together.
The other thing I love about a sex room is, like, if I think about all the things that we want to make important, right? Like, let's say just eating well, eating healthy. Yeah. If you felt like you had to be thinking about food and eating well and eating healthy all the time, it would be very stressful. You think about it when you go to the kitchen, right? Or when it's time for lunch. Same with working out, right? Like I love working out right now, like twice a day. Like I'm like obsessed. I love running. And the gym is like my sacred place. But if all the time I was like, I got like, is it time to work out? Should I be working out or whatever? When I think psychologically, what we do as couples is we think we're supposed to like be sexually charged all the time, or be really into our partners, or we're like sleeping and you wake up and should you be having hot sex, or are the people on Instagram having really hot sex right now? There's this like, because we don't contain our sexuality and say, okay, when we show up here, we're going to go all the way, right? When I step foot in the gym, it's game time, right? Right. But it's not game time right now. And I feel better about that. I think with a sex room, you could get much clearer psychologically on like, now it's game time. And that doesn't mean I'm not consensual or I don't do things I don't want to. It just means I'm going to bring my whole self to the erotic experience of my relationship right now. And I think when you say, okay, for the next 2 hours in this place, that's where I do that.
Right.
And yes, I'm going to flirt with my partner. And yes, I'm going to keep the energy flowing the rest of the time. But it's almost like I would feel less sort of generalized like pressure, which might make me feel a kind of generalized anxiety about how I was supposed to be with my partner all the time if I was like, yo, bougie sex dungeon at 8:30 p.m. on Thursday, you know, like it would feel different, and it feels different than it just being your bedroom, which also has this feeling of like, are we doing it? Are we not? And I know some people might love that feeling sometimes. Some people might, obviously, we're still going to want to make love in our bedrooms, but it would be nice to be like, oh, there's this place we go to that's just for eros, that's just for pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. But I also think it's the setup to that.
Yeah.
It's, we all live such busy lives at the moment. There's all this, there's a lot of people that want to enjoy having sex with their partners, but they don't feel that they're sort of like centered in their own body. They're not accepting of their own body. They feel body shamed and stuff like that. So we have all these outside stresses along with all this body dysmorphia. And then we've got kids and, we don't have time for sex. Well, I've always said to clients, whoever I've dealing with, it's have a fucking date night.
Yes.
Send the kids off somewhere else. You can. You're allowed to do this. It's okay. But it's a dedicated date night for just you and your partner. But it starts off in the kitchen and, and then dinner and, make it romantic and then lead it off to wherever you want.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's a really good setup rather than thinking necessarily, oh God, we've got a room, but we have to make love in here. No. You don't have to do that. You can actually set all this ambience up beforehand and you never know where it leads once you get there.
Yes. And
it's a journey.
One of the main things that I teach is to have a pleasure practice, right? Because if you want to become masterful at sex, and that could be just general sex mastery of orgasm, ejaculation, pleasure. That's one thing. You can become masterful at tantra. You can become masterful at BDSM. You can become masterful at energy sex. Check in this lifetime for me. So like, if you want to master anything, you have to have a place to practice. And so sometimes with sex, we just expect ourselves to be excellent all the time. But nobody becomes excellent or masterful at anything that they don't let themselves suck at sometimes. You actually need a place to be creative. You need a place to explore and develop. So with our own bodies, it's like we need a pleasure practice where I don't just masturbate to the same fantasy, touch myself the same way and try and get off at a certain amount of time. Now, I still do that and I still love that and it still has its place in my life. But I have pleasure practice where I'll set the timer 15, 20 minutes, touch myself, use breath work with my energy, heal if something needs to heal, right? I'm perpetually healing my Catholic shame, right? I'm perpetually having to remind myself what you're saying, to fall in love with my own body, because not only is that not how I was raised, but the culture won't support me to do that each and every day. Like I have to choose that. And so for a couple to have a pleasure practice means we're going to show up for this time and we're going to honor a container of growth, of evolution, of sharing, of erotic unfolding. But I think if anyone, especially a woman, thinks like I'm going to have sex, then they will hate that. But they think of the space actually as a way to grow and unfold your erotic connection as a couple. And I think they can see it as much more of the temple that it is.
I think so. I think it's I think lots of people should masturbate.
Yeah. Maybe everyone. We can't say everyone, but pretty close.
I think we can pretty close say, come on, for God's sakes, get those fingers working, get those hands working. It
Fire
releases,
them up.
it releases such a good endorphins. It's that really good pleasure feeling. It's why we also feel so good after sex.
Yes.
It's why we will have that sort of like healthy glow. And in my case, as being a sex room designer, it's having a place where you feel you can do that and again, as I said, push your boundaries further. But also you have the bedroom for that. It's so irritating to me that we now we don't sleep and have sex in our bedrooms. It's not a sacred place anymore. We fucking work in there. We watch the television. We snack on biscuits. We eat in there. And we don't ever get away from the stresses of our lives.
Yes.
But if we turned our bedroom into a sanctuary, I think it would be much better and much healthier. And maybe if we had more orgasms and people masturbating, maybe we wouldn't have so much hate in this world.
You know, there's something to be said for that. And it says a lot about our culture that we're skeptical of like, oh, just giving yourself pleasure like that. Isn't there something wrong, bad? Are you addicted? And Dr. Prause, who's like a leading sex researcher, says across every study that they do, when people use masturbation or sex to feel better, they actually are healthier. It acts as a natural antidepressant. It supports them in their life. Like, we're designed to feel good, but we have this weird skepticism about it, especially sometimes the things that are pleasure-based. We're designed to feel pleasure. Speaking of, can we have some sex magic? This is...
Oh my God, yes, of course. I'd love to try this. Oh my God.
So yeah, this is my supplement line Mood that I created last year. And so this is an elixir that you can take. You can either take it before sex. It makes you feel more glittery, more alive. It has like vasodilators, things that make you feel more sensitive in your body. It has this cool moss that's supposed to be like a lubricant aphrodisiac called Huperzine A. And I also take it like before marketing meetings and before I do yoga. And
so you get that arousal going, that energy.
I'm just a true pleasure junkie. And also at night, because I love caffeine, but I can't have caffeine after 3 p.m. And so when I want a little lift, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do the sex magic. So.
Oh, do you like, I can't have coffee after a certain time, otherwise it turns me into a cunt. I'm just absolutely awful.
Which now I can't tell is a good or a bad thing, being a cunt. I think it's...
I don't know. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it puts me in a bad mood.
Get this woman a late coffee so she can be a cunt.
Yeah, I can't do coffee late in the day. I can do it first thing in the morning. It's absolutely wonderful. But I'm yes, let me try this.
Yeah.
So give me the instructions. What do I do?
Okay, so you put a scoop in it. We actually have a measuring scooper in there, but this gold spoon is actually much more
I think it looks much classier, darling.
It sure does.
Here we are.
Yeah, you sound so classy that I'm just like I have to step up my game because class is the most natural thing that comes out of me sometimes.
The only thing I get a bit sort of like antsy about is when I watch people eat and they stab their fork into a piece of sirloin or filet, and I'm like, oh God, no, that's not how you should do it.
Well, it's funny, for my whole life, I've been trying to eat more sensually because I got converted. I don't know when I became a sex witch exactly. It was like a whole host of things, but part of it was watching this movie called Dangerous Beauty.
Oh, okay.
And she gets taught how to be a courtesan, so you can stir with your gold spoon if you want.
I'm stirring.
And her mom teaches her how to be a courtesan, like a lady of pleasure. And so she teaches her like how to eat an asparagus just like slowly, or like a piece of chicken, and she like sucks the chicken bone.
Oh, that's me.
Why don't we have a plate of food so you can show us how it's done? And every single time I'm like still trying to get myself to eat that way. And I can't believe I'm going to tell this story, but I flew all the way from Australia to New York City and I was starving. And I went for my friend's closing party of this club that they built. It's like a secret club in Soho. And I didn't want to miss it. So I flew all the way across the world to get there. And my friends were waiting and I was supposed to open the party and I was late. And I was like, I got to get a Whole Foods chicken. And I was like, I don't even have time to wash my hands. I was like, Layla, are you going to eat a roasted chicken out of a bag with your grimy ass city hands right now? And I was like, I think I am. And I was like, what are you going to do with the bone? And it was like, I'm just going to figure it out. So I'm like sitting there on the side of the New York street. This is literally like less than a week ago, just like eating a drumstick, like really intensely. And I was like, how feral are you right now? And then I tossed it in a bin, and I was just like, oh my God. Like, so anyways, as you're talking like about eating in this like sensual, beautiful way, I'm like seeing myself just like chow down on a roast chicken on the side of like Houston.
There's wonderful ways of, eating and making it sensual, which reminds me of a couple of dildos that I have at home that I always use as like shock tactics. This is very nice, by the way. And I have a corn on the cob dildo. So when you put your hand on it, it actually changes the color of the corn on the cob, which will actually change once it's inserted inside you because it's to do with heat. And I have an asparagus as well.
So the corn can just become all different colors. It's like one of those.
No, the corn will come will do it, like it's being cooked. So it will change color. Same with the asparagus. I was like, you know what? I should have a dinner party and put these out because I bet people are not going to know the difference. That's my shock value. I just love doing things like that.
Well, we once I'm going to say this. It's true. We did a sex magic ritual, and we wanted to, and by we, I mean me, a bunch of girlfriends and a couple of men in our community. And we wanted to celebrate the bounty of the fall harvest. So instead of our crystal dildos, we used actual vegetables, organic vegetables. And I was like, as we insert these cucumbers and these carrots, may we feel the depth of gratitude for the bounty of this earth.
Oh, that is so funny. But that is really funny that you think like that, because during the show, I was talking to Sarah and Heather, the lesbian couple. It was so sweet. And we were talking about green bananas.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were like, you've used a green banana? Yeah, of course you have. So how you do it, you use a green banana, because if your muscles are very
otherwise,
otherwise you're going to smash it, mash one up. But file the top, and then you've got the top. Say the top's up here, and then you file the bottom of the base. Just slip a condom on it, and then Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
I mean, that's the thing. We use the eggplant emoji like it's a full joke, and you're like, no, it's the OG sex toy. Like Mother Nature had our back.
Oh, absolutely. So tell me about your fascination, because I think we share a fascination on glass dildos. I have a complete fucking fascination with glass butt plugs. I'm always trying to push my glass butt plugs. Not that I have my own line, but I think they're so fun.
But you should.
But the problem is people go, glass, you insert glass. I'm like, it's not fucking glass as you know it. It's borsalite. It's what Pyrex is made out of. It's body safe.
Medical grade. They use it if they in surgery. Yeah, totally. With implants. Like they literally have glass brains that they'll make for like whatever replacement surgery. And I was like, it's that kind of glass, not the scary kind.
Yeah, it's not the scary. It's not going to shatter inside you.
Totally. So yeah, the reason that I am obsessed with glass dildos, you know this about me because I said that I got shipped a box of glass dildos that were blessed by aliens from someone who a few years ago.
I would love to have a box of glass dildos that have been blessed by fucking aliens. Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me?
If your dildo isn't blessed by an alien, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So
okay.
I love them because so I originally was really into stone and still am. So like jade or there's beautiful moonstone and all of that. And then once I started working with, as you say, borsilicate or Pyrex, and we make crystal eggs out of that material, it felt like a diamond quality of energy. And it also felt like it could almost be transmuted into any energy that I desired. So it felt very expansive, almost if the stones had earth energy, this had cosmic energy. So I say aliens, but interdimensional expansion, starlight felt like part of the glass. So I love getting off with different materials, different energies, different vibrations, and glass dildos have that quality to me.
Yeah, I am a person that is try different types. You just don't say no to a glass dildo. It might be rigid, but it's a really different feel in your body.
Yeah.
And that psychologically in its own right can be an arousal. We've got these beautiful, silicone vibrators now and dildos and stuff like that. So it's all to do with touch and that sensory once it enters you, or that pleasure zone outside, just outside round by the labia and stuff like that. Or I just think it's fun to try everything.
So good. And I also love that you can heat it. So I'll make a warm glass of water, not too hot, and put it in there. It's such an exquisite feeling to work with something warm. Yeah.
Which is almost like simulating what a warm lubricant would do.
Yeah. I'm here to invite you to try something called Magnetic. It's a 21-day challenge of practices that are 2 to 3 minutes long that will make you erotically magnetic, so sensual, so alive, so connected to your body. If you listen to this podcast and you're like, Layla, but how? Magnetic is the answer. It'll give you 21 days of practices delivered directly to you. It's totally free. They'll teach you things like pussy breath work or cock breath work, things like sensual movement, falling in love with your body, feeling erotically empowered and confident. all in just 2 to 3 minutes a day. It is my most effective, transformative program, and it is the best way to start seeing the results that you are hearing about in this podcast, to get a taste and also to decide if you want to do one of my more extensive paid programs. You can join Magnetic for free by finding the link in the show notes. You can also head on over to laylamartin.com/magnetic. So I have, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yes, far away, go on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bring it on. I'm not shy.
Which is like, I think there's two of the biggest lies we've been told about sex in our society. You've referenced one of them. Number one, you only deserve to have outrageous sex if you look a certain way that like the mainstream dictated was like sexually attractive on the cover of Cosmopolitan in like 1996, right? But pleasure is a goddamn human right. And everyone deserves to feel it. Yes. And I have been in tantric states where I could truly fuck anyone because I see the absolute beauty and desirability and amazingness of anyone. Like it's like everybody can be sexual, can be sacred. And when someone is in their truth and their expression, it can be absolutely erotic regardless of what that body looks like. And actually, I'd love your thoughts on that, and then I have the other piece, which is where I wanted to go.
But that's interesting. While you touch on that, one of the things I do want to point out, when you mention the word sex, doesn't mean to say you have to have penetration.
Yeah.
Sex can be, a touch of your partner, just a brush past. It can be all of those creating. It's almost like you creating that wonderful energy of sex around you, like when you first met a partner. Yeah. It's indescribable of that energy of, if they walk towards you, and it's just fucking fantastic.
Yes. And we can create that energy. That's something that you really learn on the tantric path, is that you can generate eros, right? It's part, I actually explained this in a way that I loved the other day, which is, when I say something like orgasm is our true nature, right? That can be like kind of inconceivable to some people who think of orgasm as a physiological response in the body.
Right.
But orgasm is a state, right? No matter what. Sometimes your pussy's contracting, sometimes someone's ejaculating, but sometimes not, right? You can orgasm in your sleep. You can orgasm like just breathing. And what I realized is in every moment of reality, something is being created out of nothing. Right? In every single moment.
Yes.
Like out of the infinite possibility. The universe is doing this right now, right? Yeah. Which is so amazing. I know. It's making love to itself, which means that it's perpetually orgasming to create all of this. So we're like tapping into that state. And when we really actually like connect with that, it changes the whole quality of orgasm.
Oh, absolutely. But I think you've got to understand, a lot of people, respectfully, not a lot of people have actually orgasmed.
Totally.
Which is quite, I think it's not, am I sad? Yes, I am sad about that.
Yeah.
Because there is something so beautiful about having an orgasm and achieving that and being so open with your partner. I go back to the show Shanika and Matt Shanika, I turned around and I said, I just have to ask you, these are questions I ask my clients. Have you had an orgasm? And she said, well, I think so. And I was like, yeah, she's not had an orgasm.
Totally.
Yeah. And then, looking at her husband who's trying to look for the G-spot, but has the G-spot, how to find your G-spot in a book. So visually for me is not a good place to be, because I visually see him looking at the book with his fingers inserted and say, darling, am I there yet? Yeah. Or, I don't know.
Which is still better than not reading the book at all, but let's say maybe not where we want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. But I felt sad because that's such a wonderful, having an orgasm is so incredible for both parties.
I mean, look, I saw one of my best male friends who I know is such a wonderful human, has exposure to me, has exposure to so much of our community. And in a play experience, I watched him with his fingers like penetrating women too hard and too fast when they weren't fully ready, and how he thought that's what women wanted. And I was like, this is the most normal way, normal in our society, that women's bodies are being treated. Like the vast majority of women don't even know what it is to be fully consensual with their own body, to not let a finger or a penis or a strap-on or a tongue go inside unless your body is a yes, right? We don't even listen to ourselves.
Right.
And so there's a perpetual tension and shutdown that starts to happen. And that's where we get numbness and pain and I can't have an orgasm from. It's like my body actually learned to try and protect itself against penetration rather than open into penetration. And this is very few of these men or people with tongues and fingers are doing this maliciously. They just aren't taught better. They're good humans. And if you watch porn and that was your education and no one ever told you differently, because it can be so hard to say, I want this. We're afraid to emasculate him. We're afraid to get rejected. We're afraid to be whatever, all these things, to hurt his feelings. It's like, no one ever told them. How were they supposed to know? And then most women don't even realize that they're like enduring sex rather than thriving into it.
Right.
And where are you going to learn how to do it differently if not a sex room?
Right. That's why it's, creating a space that is, like a sex room where you can, again, push your boundaries, or you can explore each other knowing that it's safe and it's consensual.
Yes.
And bringing in toys. I've had sometimes if I mention the word vibrators, the female side wants to bring in a vibrator. The guy says, oh, so you don't need me. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes. No, this is something we do together. Yeah. This is an exploration we do together.
Yes.
It can be used both ways. Yes. It's not just for one thing. But I think that's down to education.
And I think as a couple, it's so rare that we ever give ourselves the time to make a mistake, to fuck up, to do something different. And so one of the very first sex practices I was ever taught that was so helpful is called sandboxing, where it's like, you just set a timer, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and you say, look, like I'm going to touch your clitoris, but I'm going to do it in totally new and different ways. I'm going to stroke in ways I never have before. I'm going to press in ways I never have before. I'm going to, meow. And we're going to see, maybe I'll nibble on your inner thigh. You could tell me if there's something you absolutely never want me to do.
Right.
But other than that, I'm going to explore. And you tell me what you love, what you don't love, what you want more of. And it's a sandbox, meaning we're building things, we're playing, we're exploring. We're not in a sandbox being like, better have a climax and you better touch me exactly right or else you're not really a lover or a man or whatever the story is, right? And so it's like, let's just give ourselves the time to explore and play. And also I asked my partner, because I could tell he had very specific desires and I never been with someone that I could intuit or just sense that he had very specific desires. I was like, tell me exactly what you want. Exactly.
But don't you think that all starts off with a fucking conversation?
Yeah. And most people never talk about it.
Well, no, they don't.
Yeah.
That's why I found it so interesting. And I was thrilled about my show is people sat there on the sofa. So many people have reached out to me and said, oh my God, it created an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And that's where it all starts. It's just communication.
Yes.
Is the key.
Yes. And the last piece I wanted to bring up that I'd love to hear your thoughts on is, again, one of the biggest lies in sexuality is that it has to end at a certain point, right? Especially for women, right? You reach a sort of expiration date. And
what do you mean, age-wise?
Yes.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. So my best friend is 67 years old. She's having the absolute best sex of her life, right? So many of my teachers in their 60s, so many of my friends in their 60s. And what I've noticed is the glittering, especially women, but this is people of all genders, the glittering elders of our society have embraced their sexuality in one way or another. Like they are still fucking in a way that makes them happy. And they, to me, have redefined aging. Because it's like you to me embody in our short experience what we get told maybe can't exist as we age, which is energy, aliveness, audacity, power, play, having your own Netflix show, right?
Yeah.
Having your own BDSM jewelry line, like doing whatever the fuck you want, right? And the essence of that is like I continue to live my destiny with like joy and magic.
Yes.
And I think that sexuality is a huge part of that. When we're still owning our sexuality and how beautiful and how magical and how powerful it can be, and that it can absolutely get better. I have seen that if we're working on it, if we're paying attention to it, if we're making it important, it's like that's where I'm like, oh, fuck, like I can't wait to be like 70,
Right. But I think as we get older, our bodies change.
Yeah.
We hit that menopausal thing. The vagina starts to drying up, and perhaps sex can be a little bit more painful, but you can still enjoy toys and things like that. But our body changes in a way sexually in how we view sex. Like we've gone past that honeymoon phase, and when we were younger, we did all the exploration, and we had sex, lots of sex, and so forth. When you're married or you've been with a partner for a long time, your views change on sex. But it really fucking irritates. Oh, that was it. Somebody, not mentioning any names, made a comment about something on my post. And look, I don't have that many hateful things, but it's like, she shouldn't be doing that. She should be somewhere, I don't know, in a grandma's home. And I was like, what? How old do you think I fucking am? And I was like, you know what? No. And
even if you were 112, I would hope that you were still designing sex rooms.
Hang on a second. and loads of people went to my defense. How dare you talk to her like that? And da-da-da-da. And I was just reading the comments, and I was just laughed. I was like, how stupid. You can have sex whatever age you are. It doesn't go, sex after 40? No. Sex after 50? Oh, God forbid. 60? Are you kidding me? 70? Oh, that's disgusting. 80? That's even worse. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's a connection you have with your partner. Oh, that just gets me going. Sorry.
Which conceivably could get better the more mature you get. The more emotional safety you know how to provide.
Yes, I think you are more satisfied in your body. You're feeling a little bit more present in your body. You're not at that time where you're thinking, oh my God, my stomach isn't flat enough. I don't have a six pack. And oh my God, my breasts aren't as perky as they were, because gravity happens after a period of time. So I think you can have sex at any age, and you should enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, as I said, have to be penetrative sex. It can still be loving, touching, feeling, brushing against, whispering, I love you, and things like that. So.
Yeah, and the women especially, and I'm using women because they've received the heaviest conditioning around this, that are thriving and literally thriving in their 60s. And I use that for some reason. I have a huge chunk of friends in their 60s, but not necessarily in their 50s or 70s. It's really like that age group somehow speaks to me. And they switched out a full reliance on physiology for more of a connection to energy.
Oh, how
in some way, shape or form. And so they can tap into that orgasmic field.
Right.
And that seems to also change biology as well to a certain degree. So.
I think it does, yeah. Your body changes. You biologically, it's, people always say to me, oh, didn't you want children? I'm like, darling, my ovaries have gone past their sell-by date, I'm surprised they're still there. It's, we're all different, but that's okay.
Yes. All right. So we'll leave people with one piece. I want to leave them one piece each. Like, I want to leave them with this suggestion that when I have had a sex room, it has done wonders for my relationship, especially my long-term relationship. But when I was in my long-term partnership, and we were in a studio apartment. This is when we were first building my online business, and we didn't have a lot of money. So we lived in a studio. We worked in the studio. I actually got us a fold-up mattress that I would cover with a sheet, and I had very specific candles and a few little statues of
setting
goddesses.
Up the ambiance, yes.
Yes, and I would put that in the floor. Like on the floor in a studio apartment, it's hard to say what's what, but what you could have called like the center of the room / our living room.
Right, of course. You're setting the scene.
Yes. And that still worked, So I just invite people from of course, like the bougiest of sex rooms, hallelujah. And no matter what you're working with, this idea of creating a dedicated space for sex.
Yep. Or a dedicated area.
A dedicated area, can do wonders for your sex life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is something that you would love to leave everyone with after this conversation?
I think sex starts with a conversation. Wanting a sex room starts with a conversation. Wanting to turn your bedroom into more of a sanctuary starts with a conversation with your partner, because it's important that you're both on the same page.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yes. You're inspiring me to maybe live out my podcast fantasies, which is instead of us sitting on chairs, I'd like to just be sitting in bed with my guests with like a breakfast tray between us. Like just
I have always thought about that with a lovely cup of English tea, darling.
Yes.
And with my porcelain mug that says cunt on it. You can have my shit fucking wank, my wank mug.
I will take your wank mug.
And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful china.
I'm trying to offload right now as I'm living in, multiple places, like sorting out my international lifestyle, but I will take the wank mug. All right. So to stay connected, people are going to watch Build Your Own Sex Room.
How to Build Your Own Sex Room, yes.
How to Build Your Own Sex Room on Netflix. Actually, truly an amazing show.
Thank you.
Team raving about it.
Watch with a pad and paper. So you can make notes.
Yes.
That's very important.
They are going to check out your custom BDSM jewelry line.
My line's coming out on September 16th.
Which is my birthday.
Which is your birthday.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I will raise a glass of champagne to you, darling.
Fuck yes.
So yes, I will be at the Stockroom, LA in Glendale from 2 to 4 on September the 16th. And it's a limited edition line, so it'll be available online as well.
And let's say we're in the future when people are listening to this and it's past September 16th, where might they find your jewelry line?
They will still find it at the Stockroom. It's Melanie Rose Designs plus the Stockroom.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you.
Oh my God, you're very welcome.
For being a stand. Thank you for swearing.
Oh God, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, fuck yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is gorgeous, by the way. So I really enjoyed it. Here we are, darling. Cheers.
We've got your gift box.
Let's just
cheers.
clink. Thank you. Thank you.
Posh teacups.
Posh
Little spot of sex magic.
This is lovely.
So the practice for today's podcast should come as no surprise. It is to build your own sex room. So like me and Melanie talked about in this episode, you can either do it with your own dedicated bedroom. It's an amazing option. Instead of having a guest room, guests can sleep on the couch, yo. Or you could even get one of those Murphy beds, put the guests in like the living room, for instance. You might have to prioritize one of the rooms of your house becoming your sex room. Or like I discussed back when me and Andrew were entrepreneurs and counting every penny, we literally just had like a roll up mat that we would then unroll and put a lovely blanket on. And we had special candles and a few statues that we would put around. And that would actually be our sex room, was just a dedicated ritual space that we put down in, what was our living room or just the floor of our studio at the time. Or you can convert your own bed. But honestly, for me, in my experience, even just having a spot on the floor, even if it's in your bedroom, can totally change it up, right? And it's sex, so it could be a mattress, but I found those like fold up, you can get them on Etsy or Amazon, either gym mats with some soft blankets over them, or they're like a futon, like soft plush kind of almost like Japanese beds that you lie on the floor, can be really wonderful. So the practical ask is to build your own sex room. Make a list of 10 things that you could get to ritualize, to invite, to make a space feel like a sacred temple for your sexuality. And what could be cool to do as a couple is to make a list of 10 things that you would want in your sex room, but also 10 ways that you would want to feel in your sex room, right? Like, what do you want to be invited into? What kind of sexual experiences do you want to have inside of the sex room, and let part of what you want to be in the sex room really support that, support the fulfillment of your desires, support the way that you want to feel together. It can be so powerful. So step 1 would be to choose a location. Step 2 would be to have a conversation. Step 1 would be to have a conversation with your partner. Now, here's the thing. You can have a sex room even solo. I have sacred practice spaces for just my own sex witch practices that I need. I have my own goddess temple at my shared house with my partner. So you can create your own solo practice space. Mine used to be my bathtub. I had all kinds of sacred objects that I would put around the bath, and I would convert the bathtub space into my practice space. So it can be coupled or solo, but if you're in a couple, step 1, have a conversation. Step 2, pick a spot in your home that's going to become your sex room or your sex space or your sex temple. Step 3, I think you should sit down, Step 3, sit down and make a list. So 10 things that you want in your sex room and 10 ways that you want to feel, or I would say things that you want to experience in the sex room. So this can be things like, a comfortable place to sit in yab yum, a tantric sexual position, right? Or a way to be tied up, or a way to be bound, things like that, a way to have impact play. Maybe I want sexy dishes so I can be fed, right? And I want to feel safe. I want to feel sensual. I want to feel kinky and naughty. I want to feel shadowy, right? I want to feel supported, whatever those pieces are. So make a list of 10 things that you want in the sex room and 10 ways that you want to feel or things that you want to experience, both you and your partner. And then in step 4, you would read through those lists. And then step 5, make a plan and do your sex room. Have the most fun ever. This is one of the most powerful things you can do for your sex life, whether you're coupled or solo. And creating that dedicated space is one of the most important things you can do to enhance and accelerate the emphasis on your sexual awakening, on your intimacy. Think of it like building a home gym. You are going to work out more. You are going to be fitter. You are going to spend more time working out if you have a home gym because it's right there, because it's a health space for you. It's the same thing with the sex room. Go! Thank you for listening to this Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. This is the home for the realest conversations about sex, spirituality, polarity, conscious relationships, and all kinds of topics that help us live the absolute most incredible lives. Please check out the next episode. Please go ahead and leave your rating and review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. It's so helpful when you do that. If you want to stay connected to me, the most helpful supportive thing you can do is to head over to laylamartin.com, sign up with your email address. That connects you to me if you want to study deeper with me, if you want to receive my deeper teachings. I do it predominantly via email. Finally, you can check me out on Instagram at @the Layla Martin. And thank you so much for being here.